Calvin Robinson's a Christian, God bless man for that. But Calvin Robinson is pro-life, I pat him on the back. I'm happy when he tells the world that two men can't get wed. But if you mention Islam, he goes out of his head.
The Islamic cult is a death cult. The Islamic cult is a death cult. The Islamic cult is a death cult. The Islamic cult is a death cult.
Calvin Robinson's a man of God, I'm glad to know it's true. He's sick and tired of trannies, I'm tired of trannies too. He despises woke and lefties, he's a huge fan of the Jews. But please don't mention Muslims or the man will blow a fuse.
Founded by a warmongering pedophile. Founded by a warmongering pedophile. A warmongering pedophile. A warmongering pedophile.
You can say that Tommy Robinson's a man who never lies. You can say that Netanyahu deserves a Nobel Prize, that the IDF can shoot a kid in the heart and in the brain. But please don't mention Muslims, cause Calvin goes insane.
The country has been under a malaise for the last few months, but now that's sparked into something more malevolent, and it's been stirred up by the people who should be helping solve it.
Founded by a warmongering pedophile.
And it's been stirred up by the people who should be helping solve it.
Founded by a warmongering pedophile.
Stirred up by
a warmongering pedophile.
By the people who should be helping solve it.
A warmongering pedophile.
Calvin was a teacher, for that I do applaud. Now the man's a preacher, he'll get his just reward. He's a regular on podcasts, he sure does talk a lot. But please don't mention Islam, he's sure to lose the plot.
Which means that people are worshipping this warmongering pedophile, this warmongering pedophile, this warmongering pedophile, this warmongering pedophile.
He's friends with Tommy Robinson. Tommy needs support, a shoulder he can cry on when he's back in court. He intercedes for Tommy like any pastor should. But don't bring up the Muslims, I hope that's understood.
I will not call it Muslim. I will not use the word Muslim. Muslim means true believer. They're not true believers. They're not true believers. They're not true believers. I will not call it. They're not true believers.
You can say that Tommy Robinson's a man who never lies. You can say that Netanyahu deserves a Nobel Prize, that the IDF can shoot a kid in the heart and in the brain. But please don't mention Muslims, cause Calvin goes insane.
Just as when they say Allahu Akbar, it doesn't mean God is greater. It doesn't mean God is greater. It doesn't mean God is greater. It doesn't mean God is greater.
He does a show with Lawrence Fox. They sit around and smoke. They talk about the good old days and share a little joke.
So I'm moving back to England.
Oh, good.
Having lived overseas in London for many years, I'm looking forward to moving back to England.
This is the thing, though. We need to make London its own state. It needs to be an independent state, separate from England.
That's a good idea.
Let's push for that.
How would we do it?
I don't know.
Build a wall around it? We could do what the Israelis do with Palestine. We could just put a wall around it.
Yeah. Oh.
Build a wall around it? We could do what the Israelis do with Palestine. We could just put a wall around it.
Yeah.
We could do what the Israelis do with Palestine. We could just put a wall around it.
Yeah.
They're sick and tired of drag queens, I'm with them, there's no doubt. But don't mention Pakistanis or Calvin will freak out.
Wherever, deport everyone who can't speak English, everyone who's here illegally, and every Pakistani Muslim.
Wherever,
deport everyone who can't speak English, everyone who's here illegally, and every Pakistani Muslim, and every Pakistani Muslim, and every Pakistani Muslim, and every Pakistani Muslim.
He says we should deport them, that they can't integrate, that Muhammad was a pedophile, that Muslims only hate. If you can't speak English or you're from Pakistan, Calvin says you gotta go, I hope you understand.
Smear
It's
the
safer to
entire-
just say, look, we're not going to have any more Pakistani Muslims in this country. Look, we're not going to have any more Pakistani Muslims in this country. We're not going to have any more Pakistani Muslims in this country.
Smear
It's
the
safer to
entire-
just say, look, we're not going to have any more Pakistani Muslims in this country.
The Lotus Cedars love him and all that rebel news. There's no doubt that he believes in dialogue with Jews. He may not recognize the Pope, but he touches minds and hearts. But when it comes to Muslims, his rage is off the charts.
Ripper Islam, 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 Ripper Islam.
You can say that Tommy Robinson's a man who never lies. You can say that Netanyahu deserves a Nobel Prize, that the IDF can shoot a kid in the heart and in the brain. But please don't mention Muslims, because Calvin goes insane.
So everyone is being kind of divided and set against each other, when the Prime Minister's job should be to get up on that pedestal and say, we are all British, no matter our skin colour, no matter our religion.
Wherever
Deport everyone who can't speak English, everyone who's here illegally, and every Pakistani Muslim.
When the Prime Minister's job should be to get up on that pedestal and say, we are all British, no matter our skin colour, no matter our religion.
And every Pakistani Muslim, and every Pakistani Muslim, and every Pakistani Muslim, and every Pakistani Muslim.
We are all British, no matter our skin colour, no matter our religion.
wherever
Deport everyone who can't speak English, everyone who's here illegally, and every Pakistani Muslim.
And so everyone is being kind of divided and set against each other.
Which means that people are worshipping this warmongering paedophile.
He's worried about the future, there could be civil war. That soon the whole of England will be under Sharia law. He could try to build bridges, but he's so antagonistic. If you just whisper Islam, poor Calvin goes ballistic.
He's stoking the flames. What?
The Islamic cult is a death cult.
He's stoking the flames. What?
The Islamic cult is a death cult.
He's stoking the flames. What?
Is a death cult.
Stoking the flames. What?
Death cult is a death cult. Is a death cult.
Yo, bro, take a chill pill. It's good that you're pro-life, that's real good. But what's with you and the Muslims? Is Ezra Levant paying you? I mean, you sure act like Tommy Robinson. Do the Jews have something on you? You never criticize the Jews, not even the genocide. But with the Muslims, whoa, you sure don't sound like a Christian calling Muhammad a warmongering pedophile at a Tommy rally. What's that about, Calvin? Is that what Jesus Christ would do? Really? Really, Calvin?
Good morning. My name is Michael, and I wish you a happy new year. I'm broadcasting from my garage located in St. Michael's Parish in the Pine Tree State's most powerful and divided city, Augusta, the political center of Maine. Every day I begin by imploring the assistance of God's Archangel of War, St. Michael. Please pray with me if you can. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and the other evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that opener was provided to us by Sean McNaughton in London, the creator of Duck Street Studios. So appreciate Sean's work. Calvin Robinson now lives in America. I think he moved to the West somewhere. I believe he's an Anglican Christian, as was pointed out so brilliantly in the song. And the song, of course, points out his blind spot with respect to the Jews. And this blind spot leads him to publicly hate on Muslims. So we have a growing number of Muslims in Maine coming in from Somalia and other places, but there's also a lot of those Somalis who are Christians. Christianity's strong in much of Africa. So we shouldn't think of, here in Maine, we shouldn't think of all of our immigrants who look different than we look. We ancient, so to speak, Mainers, we Mainers who got here before they got here, they may or may not be Muslims. So, but what's fascinating to study about the narrative, the allowed narrative, the narrative that fits within the Overton window here in Maine, is that it has to exclude any criticism, any critical thought, any reasoning from politics or religion about Jews. You can hate on Muslims, you can hate on Roman Catholics, you can even hate on Protestant Christians, but don't you dare offer even a whisper of a critique of the Jews, like I once did, and earned a public denunciation from the rabbi. Didn't bother, from Portland, didn't bother to pick up the phone and call me first. I was, sort of a peer. I was the executive director of the Christian Civic League of Maine, which was formed back in 1897 and had institutional, and still does have institutional power because it has a history in Maine. It goes back to the 19th century. It should have power. So I commented, I've talked about it before, about how the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. celebrates all things fake and gay. And that made me curious. And that's when I kind of started down the rabbit hole of considering the role of Judaism in the United States of America. And of course, if you watch this show ever, you kind of get to hear about it, because my contention is, if you want to really truly understand who your enemy is, then a good place to start pulling the thread is with the group or the individual that you're not allowed to think about, you're not allowed to talk about, you're not, that always appears outside of the Overton window. So I've used that term twice. It deserves to be defined. So I'm going to do that now by turning to Gemini, which is the AI that Google is spinning up. I'm hesitating here because I have a comment from Shane. Good morning, Shane. Thanks for tuning in. If you're on YouTube or X, watching me on YouTube or X, I think you can comment, and I will see it here in this StreamYard platform, which I subscribe to, and it enables me to produce this show alone, to live stream to you on a daily basis for an affordable price. It's only $40 a month for this service. So God's been good to provide me in my retirement with $40 a month to afford this. I have to watch every penny because I am in retirement doing this. So back to Overton window. Let's pull this up here. Okay, make it bigger. Yeah, let's just check this out. The Overton window is a political concept that describes the range of policies and ideas considered acceptable to the mainstream population at any given time. Essentially, it is the window of discourse that a politician can stay within without being viewed as too extreme to hold public office. And the model suggests that all political ideas on a certain issue, taxes, healthcare, civil rights, exist on a spectrum. The window only covers a portion of that spectrum. Ideas are typically categorized by their level of public acceptance. So here are some words, categories to help us better understand the Overton window. Policy is already enacted into law, popular, widely supported by the public, sensible, seen as a reasonable option, acceptable, not mainstream, but not crazy, radical, viewed as extreme or fringe, unthinkable, beyond the pale, completely taboo. So the window moves. The most important part of the theory is that the window isn't fixed. It shifts, expands, or shrinks based on changes in culture, technology, and social movements. And then it gives some historical examples here. And this is really interesting. Who moves the window? A common misconception is that politicians move the window. According to Joseph Overton, the policy analyst who originated the idea, politicians generally follow the window rather than lead it. They wait for society to change first so they can adopt safe positions that ensure their reelection. And this is fascinating. The window is actually moved by think tanks and activists. By advocating for unthinkable ideas, they make radical ideas seem sensible by comparison, in effect similar to anchoring in negotiations. Social movements, large-scale changes in public values, the civil rights movement, for example. Crises, major events like wars or economic depressions can suddenly make previously unthinkable policies like massive stimulus packages seem necessary. So understanding the Overton window helps explain why some brilliant ideas never get passed. They are outside the window, and why some mediocre ideas are easily enacted. They are comfortably inside. It also highlights that if you want to change policy, you often have to start by changing the culture and what the public is willing to talk about. So I would suggest that we're all being baked into our own individual Overton window now. Never heard that idea expressed before, but Facebook is the invention that started to make that possible. Google came before that, but Google couldn't make it social media. What was it called? I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, they took a stab at it and wasted a billion or two with a B on trying to spin up their own social network, but eventually they just gave up. So, but I would suggest that if an effective strategy in war is to divide and conquer, then I'm getting a comment here from my buddy. I hope it's my buddy. Is it my friend, or is it some anonymous, some anon account that's faking him again? It would have to be an anon account, or maybe not. At True Slinger. Oh, on YouTube. So it's probably Tim. So here he is. All right. Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Tim, from YouTube. So I guess I now know that YouTube works, unless it isn't enough. So, of course, if I say that it's you, it could be a fake YouTube account. What a crazy time we're living in, and this kind of illustrates my what I'm talking about here with the Overton window, which is that we're all now living within our own prescribed, individualized Overton window. So why would anyone do that? Because if you're in war and your plan is to achieve absolute control using technology before 2030, which is the admitted public goal of the World Economic Forum and the powers that ought not be, the billionaire and trillionaire class at the top of the pyramid in the West and in the world. If your goal is to get there by 2030, and everybody knows that dividing and conquering is a super effective strategy in war, then why, and you had the power to create individualized Overton windows for every single person, every single human that uses social media, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you do that? Of course you'd do that. It makes perfect sense to me that you'd get this cacophony of chaos going, this rhythm of forceful, violent denunciations of everybody by everybody. Then why wouldn't you do that? Because it just disables the opportunity for human beings to enter into society, to form society, to form a human society. It disables that possibility, because you can't ever, no group of humans with this kind of divide and conquer strategy being used effectively on X and on Facebook and YouTube, this kind of strategy, by definition, disallows any effective unity from emerging. I noticed this when I decided, after years of bouncing around in a FedEx truck and working for minimum wage as a driver, after having my political career nuked and torched way back. And then after COVID, I felt a duty to see if I had any political base left in Maine. So I came back, and one of the first things I learned, I was drawn into Telegram, and I found out that every leader of every Telegram group was their own dictator, their own authoritarian, and that they were all squabbling with one another, and that there was no possibility of bringing about any sort of effective political movement, because we were all too busy trying to find a way to make the number go up of followers or whatever by attacking in a nanosecond, instinctively attacking whatever target was spun up in our consciousness and in our passions by our use of social media. That's why one of the reasons I played the song I played at the outset about Calvin Robinson and the issue of the Jews and the issue of Islam. Now, I'm not a Muslim. I heard an idea the other day. I'm Roman Catholic. I'm a Christian. I heard the idea the other day that the reason Imam Dami won New York City, and the reason that I think the Somalis, Africans have established a power center, a political power center in Minnesota, is because we need the labor. One of the reasons is because we murdered too many babies in the womb, and now we're down to like 1 or 2 workers for every retiree. Whereas when Social Security was kind of working, it stopped working a long time ago. When it was kind of working, there were 7 workers for every retiree. Now we're down to like 1 or 2. So we've got this immense pressure building in America related to labor, work, real work. You know, what's real work? Well, real work is the work that builds and maintains our infrastructure, and that takes mostly men, but some women, to show up to clean the toilet with the special tools, the capital that they've created that includes their skills and their tools, for them to show up and clean the toilet. Or I guess maybe robots are going to do that. Maybe they will someday, but I don't know. But right now, it takes a guy or a gal willing to get their hands dirty to maintain infrastructure. You'd be shocked if you stopped and thought about it, how many humans it takes to maintain the roads, right? We don't think about these things. Guys at any hour of the day to drive into these crawl up into these monstrous snowplow trucks with a big pile of sand behind their head, and drive down the roads that none of us want to drive on because they're too dangerous, with this multi-ton blade of steel in front of it while the snow is blowing and it's below zero and it's inclement and takes hundreds, thousands of men and women who are, and that's just one little piece of our infrastructure here in Maine, and that is where value comes from. It doesn't come from money itself. Real value, real economic value comes from labor. Comes from it comes from work. It comes from if you're a creator online, like my friend Tim, who I may be here, maybe not here, I don't know, comment from YouTube, then the value that he brings to X, to Maine, to politics is not the money he gives. He doesn't have enough money to be a donor, to be in the donor class. It's his work. It's his creativity. It's his skill set. Same thing with Richard. Same thing with Nick, my 3 favorite activists, political activists. I apologize to you if I haven't named you. Nick Nick Blanchard is in Augusta. I'm near Augusta. They're very loud and proud on Facebook and X. So it's more than them just being local. Richard is across the river here in Hollowell. So these are men that I can actually get in my car and drive and meet within a short period of time. But they're also very effective on social media. And so I'm just, oh, there goes my 64-year-old short-term memory. I just lost the thread. I was talking about Tim and YouTube. I wanted to get back to a point that I started to make about Tim's comment here on YouTube, and me not knowing if it's Tim. It has a picture of Tim, I can see, and it's at TruthSlingerX. And I noticed that there's no misspellings. There's no other similar letters plugged in to at TruthSlingerX. It looks like it's spelled properly. And the reason I'm thinking that way is because Michael Hine spun up an account, which he's since deleted apparently, that inserted in the letter I, a capital I, in place of the letter L on X in order to impersonate Tim. And he stole a picture of Tim, stole an image, a screenshot of Tim's face, and then he proceeded to act like Tim. Now, I'm saying it was Michael Hine that did that. We don't have solid evidence of that, but everything that's happened to Tim since May 29th would suggest that it is Michael Hine who's behind not just that anonymous account, but maybe this one on YouTube and many others. The circumstantial evidence would suggest that it is him. And what's great is I think we're going to find out in this year, if not the next year. And the reason it might take that much time and won't be resolved in a nanosecond, which is what we all expect, because we're conditioned by X and YouTube and Instagram and the clock of the internet to have everything be fixed and known within a nanosecond. But of course, it doesn't work that way, especially when you move from social media, anti-social media, when you move from anti-social media into the real world, and especially into the legal system. And then things, thank God, slow down really slow. You end up acting on the timeline of the courts and the judges and the investigations and the law. And I've called the police, a detective, regarding Hine, because I was concerned for Tim and Jen Bodnar's safety as a result of a text that he sent me. And I've turned the text over to a detective with the Somerset County Sheriff's Department. And I've allowed that the text was carefully crafted to stop short of threatening murder on Tim, but it was sufficiently vague so that I could credibly suggest that you could take from the statement that was in the text the idea that Tim and Jen were being threatened with either murder, or it represented a celebration of their suicide, of Tim and Jen killing themselves. Those were the two reasonable interpretations of the vague, trade crafty, like it was some kind of spy novel thing, text that I received. So I turned it over to law enforcement, and I'm looking forward to having Tim on a future live stream to go into the weeds on all of this. I can say at this point that Tim, because his X account was nuked by the Mainwire, Steve Robinson and Matthew Gagnon, the gatekeepers for Jewish neoconservatism in Maine, because his account was nuked, his X account was nuked by them in apparently working with Michael Hine according to Michael Hines' testimony, they were working with Michael Hine. Robinson has been very cryptic in his responses to Tim after the account was nuked by Elon Musk at X, not by him personally, but it sounds good to say it that way. It was probably nuked at this point. The evidence would suggest that it was nuked by robots, basically by the algorithm, as a result of a complaint by Matthew Gagnon and Steve Robinson regarding trademark misuse of their trademark. So this is all going to play out over time, most likely not on social media, but in the courts, in the legal thing. I can't say that it is or isn't. That's for Tim to say, because he's the victim here, and he has the power and the authority and the exclusive right to pursue this legally. And he's gone somewhat dark since he lost his account over the holidays. And I think I can say that he had a great Christmas, and I think we chatted yesterday. He was busy like yesterday on things related to this, and so this is going to be very good for politics in Maine, for all of us to be given an opportunity to get to the bottom of this attack on both the left and the right by Michael G. Hine. Okay, someone here is indicating that also on YouTube. So welcome. First evidence that I've got the live YouTube people watching. So thanks for watching, J_James3663. So indicating here that the main wire logo is from the online game Modern Warfare's logo, which it appears would suggest that even that they've been guilty of a trademark violation in spinning up the logo graphics the way that they look. I think that's what James363 is suggesting here. So the plot thickens. 2026 is going to be, I think, very good for Maine, because there's this energy building, this momentum is the right word, building, related to anti-social media, related that is causing it to become what it has always been, which is public media. It was always a lie for Facebook to bake in a bunch of privacy controls and say that you're allowed to have 5,000 friends, and that when you set it for private or just this group or just that group, that their centralized database isn't going to be creating a psychological profile on you based on every single picture, every single post, every single comment, every single purchase that you make on Facebook. It's all combined, and it's used to create a psychological profile on you. And so say you knew that, and then you believed them when they said that they were just going to use that psychological profile to sell stuff to you, to monetize this free platform. But you chose to ignore the fact that the seed funding for Facebook came from CIA and FBI, and it is centralized. And why would you believe Mark Zuckerberg? So more and more people are coming to the conclusion, even though they still use Facebook, still use X, whatever, that these are not private platforms. They're not. And the first people to really weaponize this truth were the cypherpunks and the anons, the younger men gamers came to this conclusion a long time ago, just after I would think just after 9/11 and all those lies that the government told in order to take us off the scent of who really did it. And they've been busy in the trenches of social media with these anon accounts and with their own identities, depending on the individual who's doing it, they've been busy using Facebook and all the media, all the social media, quote, social media, which I call anti-social media, using all of these platforms as public media. That's how they've been using it. They've been weaponizing the Anon accounts. They've been making a huge difference with respect to the overall public Overton window in the West. I would give most of the credit for the awakening that's now happening to that group of internet users and anti-social media users. They're the ones who have been in the trenches for years now, influencing the narrative, influencing the Overton window. And I think the play now is, as I said earlier in the show, the play now by the Jews and by the powers that ought not be is to weaponize to a degree we've never even thought was possible, to weaponize the Overton window concept and individualize it so that they can continue their divide and conquer of global humanity, especially the citizens of the empire, the United States of America, who truly want goodness, truth, and beauty. They truly live their lives to find that, to discover it for themselves and for their family and for the people they love and for their communities and for the world. They live to pursue and fight for goodness, truth, and beauty. So, okay, so our account here, Jay James, is interacting, and he says, Hein thought I was some DJ in Maine that went to the hospital on Christmas. He tried dissing me on X with it, but it failed. And he says he lives in Florida, and he's been there since 1980. Well, glad to have your help in exposing this Maine hater, this Maine individual who has really spun up done incredible damage to political discourse, honest political discourse in Maine, especially in the last 5-6 years, since around COVID. He because in 2021 he pretended, according to his testimony to me personally, he claimed that he was a communist, that he became a communist by attacking me and my family, because apparently some people in Maine still know who I am from my 20 years as leader of the Christian Civic League of Maine. And so he weaponized that by attacking my children on X, and in order to prove his bona fides that he had actually switched from hard right to hard left, basically socialist communist. He was trying to break in, according to his own testimony, surreptitiously into the Communist Party or communist presence, communist activism in Maine. So he did that in 21, 22, 23, I guess, 3 years. And then when I got together with him, when we reconnected after him having worked for me for 6 years, for the 6 years prior to 2009, he was my administrative assistant. And then we drifted apart and we reconnected last fall. And then he put me in the uncomfortable and inappropriate, unethical position of having to choose between himself and Tim Bodnar, Trueslinger X. And so that forced me to do a deep dive on Tim, a little bit of a deep dive. And so I just took it one day at a time, and I ultimately got to know Tim and Jen and meet them in real life at a political rally. And so I decided for Tim, because over months this year, Tim proved to me that he's honest and honorable. He's answered every question I've asked him. He's just been honest and honorable with me personally. And this is the thing about you and public media, which is called Facebook, X, you are going to have to choose, like you've never chosen before, to be who you are, especially on Facebook, especially on X. And by that, I mean, you're going to have to choose your identity, full stack, to use a technology analogy, from the hardware through the software, through the platforms, through the whole stack. You are going to have to be who you are. You're not going to be able to be a weak Christian over here and a strong Christian over here with this group and that group, or not be a Christian over here. When you go to the public school to be a school teacher, you hide your faith, you hide your religious beliefs, you hide your convictions. And then when you're over here, then you see what I mean? You are going to have to unify your identity if you hope to survive 2026, 7, 8, 9, up to 2030. Now, hopefully we're going to win this battle before 2030, because I don't know, 4 more years of this feels to me like like an apocalypse. But you're going to become a part of the solution to the extent you choose, especially on Facebook, especially on social media, to be you, to not try to split your identities in order to monetize or spin up followers or whatever. You be you, especially on social media. That's the bedrock of how you are going to help save probably all of humanity from nuclear annihilation, or from this Jewish supremacist, genocidal, murderous attitude toward everyone who isn't a Jew from coming to Maine and surrounding you and pushing you into their Overton window. That's ultimately where this is headed. They're going to spin up your own individualized Overton window for as long as they can, and then once they've divided and conquered to the point where the weakness is total, then they're going to pull back the curtain on the fact that the Jews are more powerful when it comes to theology, philosophy, morality, ethics. They are the definer. The rabbis, the Talmudic rabbis, are the ones with the power and the authority to tell God what's true, to tell God what's right and wrong. They're going to pull that back on the entire planet at the opportune moment. And so if you don't want to be part of that world, then just stop. Just stop lying. Just stop splitting your identity into an infinite number of personalities so that you can monetize and so that you can have follower count go up and up and up and up. And just stop it. Just stop it. Touch grass, they say. Think for yourself. Go down the rabbit holes. Take the time. Read a book. Read a lot of books. Hug your children. Have a children. Build a family. Right? This is how we defeat them. What a wonderful truth. So people are commenting here. Tim at Tim Collins Maine says Hein is so lame. Yeah, that's being kind. So here's a good question. Why does anyone even bother engaging with him? I would not have engaged with him unless I had that history with him. You know, for 6 years I signed his paycheck. From 2009 back 6 years, he was on my staff, and so I felt like I had. You know, when I reconnected with him last fall, I was still believing that he wasn't what he is or has become, and then as it deepened, as the plot thickened with Tim, I continue my sense of responsibility to fix this, because he ended up being at the center of like every controversy around me, it seemed. It kind of rested squarely on my shoulders that I would have to deal with him. And so that's me. That's why I didn't show it. Yeah. So this is Tim Collins, Maine. Thanks, Tim, for the point. So potato kin 12999. The problem is feeding the rolls. I think he meant trolls. Feeding the trolls. Good point. I think Tim and Michael fell into this trap. Well, I just told you. I just told you why. If it was a trap, I just told you why I fell into it. So thank you, we Mick God 8345. Thank you very much for that. Those kind words. And then we have, my goodness, this is good. Let's see. The last time I had 50. Last time I had more than 6 people watching the live stream was a bunch of trolls. I shouldn't say a bunch of trolls. There were like almost 60, and the one who commented the most was probably Hein, using his Anon account, his whatever account. Another reason that I've paid attention to this is I'm learning so much from being drawn into this whole Anon world, Anon account world, which I know has been with us for many years. But when I left the Christian Civic League of Maine, I distanced myself from institutional, nonprofit, legal, whatever structures, and decided that I would just use my name. So I spun up a blog called michaelheath.org, and I spun up something called michaelheath.tv. And I just decided after that, back in 2010-ish, that I would just be me online, especially online. I would just do everything in my own name. And you'll see what I mean if you want to, if you care to go down the rabbit hole of my identity over years, over decades here in Maine. Then you'll go to michaelheath.org and just poke around the blog posts that go way back. And you can also, I don't think they've completely deleted, the Jews have completely deleted me from Google or from the internet. You can also Google and see all kinds of stuff. So, but anyway, this whole Hein thing gave me, with Tim, this conflict between Tim and Hein gave me a chance to gain a little bit deeper understanding of how this whole Anon tactic is, how effective it is, and how it's used, how it's deployed in the state of Maine. So this gentleman, Wemick, is saying this thing, the stream popped up randomly on YouTube. That's interesting. So what is happening, Maine? This place is so evil. I go on Facebook and what I see drives me crazy. Yeah, tell me about it. So it's live. I can't believe he came after me in Florida. Yeah, back to James. I should just turn the comments on and show them, because StreamYard lets me do that. And then I can tall, wide, small, font small, regular. So go with medium, tall. Yeah, forgive my ignorance here, guys. I see wide. That's pretty cool. So the Groypers were sharing the stream. They were saying Wang half, whatever the heck that means. Wang half. This is a Groyper stream. No, it's not a Groyper stream. I mean, I love Nick with my whole heart, but and I love the Groypers with my whole heart, because I was following. I first was introduced to Nick's been making Shockwave, changing the landscape. Yeah. So anyway, I don't have to keep showing them. You can see them there. Yeah, I was first introduced to Nick when a guy who was at the time employed by EMJ, E. Michael Jones, confronted Charlie Kirk and some black homosexual on the stage. I saw that video. When I saw it, I was shocked. And I started passing it around. I actually used it to challenge someone in, I think it was in TPUSA, but this was 3, 4, 5, I don't know, a while ago. It must have been 3 years ago. I lose track of time. And yeah, that moment, that video, to me signaled a shift in internet culture that was worth paying attention to. And so when I saw that video, I went and watched a bunch of Nick, a bunch of his live streams, helped my son shake his hand at the second rally, Stop the Steal rally. And just still today, I'm so thankful for what the Groypers are doing. And I'm especially thankful for why they're called Groypers. Young men who signed off publicly on porn and masturbation. That was the start of the Groyper movement, and as I understand it. And man, that's such a powerful idea. And now it's a movement that that can't be ignored. And shouldn't be ignored. It can't be ignored now because Nick is all over the place, and as he deserved to be a long time ago. So I would dearly love to see Nick get together with EMJ, and I'd like to see the Groyper war that's been launched recently, I suppose, get a little tame, calm down a little bit toward EMJ. And I'd love to see EMJ, E. Michael Jones, and Nick begin a dialogue, a public dialogue, because they do disagree on important issues, and they deserve to be explored on the internet. And EMJ is still very, very eager to do that with Nick. And as far as I know, Nick hasn't said yay or nay. But there does appear to be evidence that the Groypers are on the offense, or going on the offense, against Dr. Jones, which makes me sad. So, yeah, react to clips from Nick. Good idea. I think that's a good idea. I think I will start to do that. I hadn't really thought of doing it. It would be great to see more Groypers in Maine. I defended Nick with my legislator. Last year he came to my house. He's a pretty powerful Republican. What's his name? Isn't that awful? He represents my district, and I had him in my house because he was out knocking on doors. And I asked him if he knew who Nick was and who the Groypers were. And I suggested to him that if he wanted to get on the train as it's leaving the station, and get some real help, some brilliant, sharp, effective help online, then he should reach out in the district to see if he could find some Groypers. And he had never heard of Nick Fuentes. I'm sure he has now. So the Groyper thing, I couldn't even really talk to the Groyper thing because we just didn't have time. And but anyway, I'm all about it. I want to see more Groypers in Maine. I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. You guys may not know this, but I brought EMJ to Maine in the spring of this year. And the mistake I made was not publicizing it. I was concerned that it would get canceled, and it almost did get canceled because of Hein. I told the story in yesterday's stream. If you guys get time and want to learn more or whatever, you go to michaelheath.tv, and there's an archive there of videos that includes a conversation I had with EMJ. And it includes a bunch of stuff there that you might find helpful. But yeah, if you guys can find some Groypers in Maine, even one Groyper in Maine, please put them in touch with me. Please. I would like to talk to them. I would like to help them. I would like to work closely with them. Main Teens Jam is saying, huh, Nick is on fire right now. I'm surprised more people don't do this. Well, that's a great comment, Main Teens Jam. One of the things that was super, it blew my boomer mind, was when I went down the rabbit hole with Nick years ago and realized that the source of his power was live streaming, and that he had taught himself live streaming while gaming in his parents' basement. And this is a world that, and I'm a young boomer, but that whole cultural reality, that whole world that includes a guy like Nick, obviously like a white guy, right? He defends his skin color, and this is a point of contention between he and EMJ. One of the things that blew my mind was his relationship to rap music and to blacks. He's like Sneeko, I think. I don't know much about Sneeko, but I do know a little bit about the black rapper. Help me, chat. What's his name? Kanye, about Nick and Kanye being close, being good friends. But yet Nick makes this argument from skin color that I thought would be super offensive to a guy like Kanye or to other blacks, but he makes, and they're buddies, they're pals, and he's got this very real, powerful conversation going with Black Americans and with Black culture. First time I'd ever seen that. Never even thought it was possible. Never even imagined it was possible. And here he is, creating what to my boomer mind was a conversation that was impossible to have. And I guess still is to a large extent among boomers, but it's very real among groypers and gamers. And I think it's very real because, in large part, because of live streaming. And boomers still haven't discovered live streaming. So I would encourage you groypers to be patient with us ancient of days Americans, and do what you can to help us spin up this technical reality, this powerful force on the internet and in the world called live streaming. So I'm doing my part. I pay my $40 to StreamYard, and hoping they'll never cancel me, but realizing they're a third party that is probably going to end up in the hip pocket of the Jews at some point, which is why I've got Michael Heath TV, where I can stream with the help of more technically savvy people than I. People like Tim, for example, Tim Bodnar, he streams without StreamYard. He uses whatever those programs are, which I have never taken time to learn. But anyway, 6 a.m. every morning, I'm dedicated to doing a live stream, and 7 days a week, 6 a.m. And then it gets automatically archived at michaelheath.tv. And I guess YouTube archives. I don't spend a lot of time with YouTube and X because I know that my days are numbered there, unless something really dramatic changes with the culture. So, you guys are telling me that's the other thing you've got to learn about boomers is the multitasking thing gets harder and harder the older we get. The idea that I can play a game, a shooter game or whatever. I never got into video game. I'm too old. And but the idea that I can sit there on a game and a live stream, maybe 6 live streams all at once, and make sense of any of it, probably ain't going to happen for me. If I were younger, I would be all about it. But let's see. I wanted to see this Wang word, Wang half. Maybe somebody told me what it means. Groyper stream. When are you thinking of doing a Groyper stream? morning or night? They want a different time. They probably want me to do it at like midnight or something. 29 Rendo talks about Quinties. I'm 22. I wonder, Potato Kin, are you in Maine? Had to switch over to X on the laptop. Phone was dying. Would be hard to do a React video next time. That stream would go viral if you did a full-throated, full-blown Groyper Wang half stream. I'll share it with all my friends. Wang half. Tell me. What's your most hardcore, edgy groiper take? Do you consider yourself a groiper? My only issue with the groipers is the racial thing, the point that Dr. Jones makes so well about skin color and racial thing, and Dr. Jones's critique of the Renaissance, forget his name. So that's a conversation that really needs to be had in a deep fashion everywhere, is that debate, and it needs to happen between EMJ and Nick himself. In my sense, I consider myself a groiper. Yeah. Otherwise, I love the just the public movement aimed at young men to get them to stop watching porn. Yes, definitely, I'm all about being a groiper in that sense. Which as I mean, my sense of its beginnings, the groiper movement, is that it's more in that public commitment with respect to reacting to sexual, the freak show, what many people call the fake and gay freak show, and less. My sense of it, I could be wrong. My sense of it is that it's been more about that than it has been about the racial issue. I could be wrong. My guess is Nick was probably talking the white thing from the beginning. But the fascinating thing to me about that, like I said before, is that he has managed to create the most dynamic and powerful connection between white folk and black folk in Maine. You know, a conversation that now has been ongoing at the highest levels of the black culture, I would guess, since the time he started to live stream from the basement of his parents' home while he was gaming. So the fruit of his conversation regarding the white skin and Europe and America and all of that has been a kind of healing? I don't know if that's the right word, between young white folk and even old black folk like Kanye, trendsetters in music and art. There's this conversation that literally would not have happened, I don't think, without Nick Fuentes. So hats off to him with respect to that. So sorry I haven't been reading every single comment, but I guess I shouldn't apologize because this is something you guys do all the time. What do you consider a Christian nationalist? Great question. I can't get this thing to work right here. What do you consider a Christian nationalist? Well, when I think of Christian nationalist, I think about Andrew Torba, a young man I have enormous respect for. He spun up Gab, and he's online. He's the most vocal and perhaps effective defender of his Protestant idea of Christian nationalism. I see that the communists, the left, what's left of liberalism, is taking it on in a big way, along with the Jews. So it's really, really important part of our movement, and I like the fact that Andrew Torba mixes in his critique of the Jews relentlessly with his definition of Christian nationalism. And then, of course, I think you've also got a version of Christian nationalism which is trying to be. So I almost feel like the Christian nationalist idea is there's an attempt on the part of the Jews to hijack it. And to me, that's what TPUSA feels like. That's what this whole Charlie Kirk thing, and especially Erica Kirk thing, feels like to me. It feels like a hijacking of Torba's, of Gabb's development of the term in American culture, in American politics. I think Torba and that whole thing, maybe you Groypers, I don't know, I haven't followed the Groypers recently on the issue of Christian nationalism, but I think he got so much traction that the Jews are making a play to hijack it through this TPUSA narrative. It reminds me a lot of John F. Kennedy, that of course a lot of people believe, and I would count myself among them, that the circumstantial evidence and maybe the solid evidence means that JFK was killed by the Jews. And then they weaponized the narrative. It was easier to weaponize it back then than it is today, because the only form of media was television and radio and that stuff. So they could gatekeep the narrative better, easier. It's tougher for them now to gatekeep any narrative because of guys like the Groypers, guys like you. It's impossible, in fact, especially because you guys have rooted in the gaming culture. You have weaponized the Anon account, the deployment of Anon accounts effectively online. So I don't see a future for the Jews with respect to all the money in the world, and buying Facebook, buying up everything isn't going to stop you. It isn't going to stop us. It isn't going to stop us. The truth, as Dr. Jones likes to point out, is what corresponds with reality. And the Groyper movement, the young men who are organizing under the leadership of Nick Fuentes, they aren't going anywhere. They are only going up in power. And that's just a fact. And no amount of money being thrown at it by the Jews is going to stop you. I feel like I'm talking to Groypers, because boomers would never chat this fast. Just keep it rolling. So I'm so honored. So I usually go for an hour, and you know how us boomers are about clocks, start on time, end on time. So I don't have to do that, but I'm just thrilled to have made this connection this morning. Really thrilled. And if any of you have a connection to Nick, please share this with him. I'm so grateful for him. I really am. And I'm thankful to God that in 2025, Nick was able to punch through all the resistance and get to a place where he's at least an equal with Tucker and Candace. And that's a miracle, to my way of thinking, to my 64-year-old brain with closing, over 40 years of experience in Maine politics. I'd have to put, on this first day of January, I'd have to put that at the top of my list of miracles in 2025, is the fact that Nick ends up, wiping the floor with Piers Morgan and going on with Tucker, and it's just fabulous. And I don't see it going anywhere but up. So you guys have got me interested in going back and watching some of his live streams. Glad to see a lot of clips starting to show up on X and stuff of Nick, because 2 or 3 hours of broadcast? Is he still doing that? Broadcasting from 1 a.m. or something, going for 3 hours or 2 hours, or what a clever guy too. I always love watching his reactions to people who give him money. It's just one of the things I thought of with Nick when I first saw him is here's a guy who's comfortable in his own skin. His identity is right there. I know a lot of people say he's a Fed or whatever. I'm still not convinced. But I try to pay attention to as much criticism, especially political and religious criticism, as my puny brain can compute. So thanks so much for the honor of these comments. Too many to process while I'm live streaming. I got to figure out if there's a way for me to save comments within StreamYard. So this is a really wonderful one here. Turn on super chats. I'd throw you $100. Okay, that's another thing that my minuscule boomer brain doesn't know how to do. I'm embarrassed to say. Oh, I think super chats is a YouTube thing. So I've never tried to monetize on YouTube because probably it's an irrational fear of having my YouTube account turned off. Another boomer sensibility, right? Sorry about that, guys, because that's definitely rooted in FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So, oh, good. Somebody defined it for me. Wang half is white ass and going hard as. I guess that's a compliment. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I didn't know your generation followed Nick. I don't think it does, but it's starting to nibble around the edges. Yeah. How do I turn this one off? Hide current comment. All right, here we go. I think if more people from your generation talked like Nick, they'd get massive interaction in younger folks. Do you have a donation page? I do, actually. michaelheath.org is very clear there. Yeah, I might look at the super chat idea. I don't know. I have to think about whether so I've had my Google account since Google was invented, and my YouTube channel is connected to that account. And like I say, I just haven't wanted to get it nuked, and I know that my narrative would lead to it being nuked. Okay, so you can subscribe. Yeah, there's an email there. You can subscribe to my email. It's free. I don't mind tossing. Okay, thank you so much. A little bit of money will go a long way with me. If I do get donations, then and I want to do more than what I can do on my own, I can. My son helps people who are throttled online to stay online. He's a former Marine, and I would be able to afford to pay my son. I mean, he throws as much as he donates the PeerTube thing. He donates a lot of stuff to me, but for me to get more out of him, I'd have to give him throw a little bit of chump change his way. Well, thank you, Maine Teens Jam. That's a very kind thing to say. So yeah, right. Look at how much Fuentes makes. That's a great point. And he even insults the people who send him super chats, and it works. I come from a generation where you just don't, respect and civility. And lately, I've been talking about how that whole idea of respect and civility has been weaponized against the good guys, against goodness, truth, and beauty. Like Robert's Rules of Order here in Maine, the way that they keep it blue is they've got us all being respectful to things that we ought not respect, and being civil to people that ought to be in jail, especially the ones who are on school boards and city councils and serving in the legislature. They've got us all, and that's it. Nick and the Groypers have helped me understand that that's been weaponized against what's good, true, and beautiful. So anyway, it's hard, This is great. It's great connecting with you guys, with younger men. I can't tell you. What a happy New Year! What a New Year! A surprise New Year event happening for me. So I hope some of you guys will take a few minutes to go to michaelheath.org and poke around in the blog posts. and you'll see, you'll probably find defenses of Nick years ago that I wrote. But one of the events that sort of spun up the FUD for me, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, is about the same time I was starting to connect. Well, just before I started to go down the rabbit hole with Nick Fuentes. The FBI came to my house, and I was making minimum wage to keep food on the table. And learned that my FedEx contractor during COVID, during the lockdown, I was a last mile deliverer for FedEx, was transitioning from male to female on Facebook, and believed that nobody knew, and nobody did know until after he reported me to the FBI and to the terminal management, and got me not just fired, but permanently suspended from being able to work for minimum wage as a FedEx driver anywhere on earth until the day I die. That's in my file in Atlanta for FedEx. And it was because of my narrative online before I even knew about Nick, writing a series of blog posts entitled "Faggots Are Maggots," and then developing that idea. You can read it on my blog. So for an old boomer or a young boomer to get a visit from the FBI, I apologize. Maybe I overreacted, because now everybody's getting visited by the FBI. But that happened in 2020. And then I found Nick, and I started to, think about his use of the internet, think about the Groypers, really appreciate what you're doing, you Groypers. And yeah, the ones that go and front them. Yeah. Like, are you one of the main school board hero people? So what I've said for months is that there's a kind of trinity of effectiveness in Maine, consisting of Corn Pop, or Nick Blanchard here in Augusta, and Richard, who runs the @Unquirer account on X, and also the Maine X community on Facebook. And he lives across the river here in Hollowell from me. And then the third member of the Trinity, the political activist Trinity of Maine, is Tim Bodnar, the Truth Slinger X. And boy, are they effective. They've kind of brought this whole school board controversy to the front pages more than once in the past few years. None of them have any money. Blanchard works in a coffee shop. Richard, I don't know if I'm not going to say where he works, but he works very hard and very full time in real life. And Tim's an old boomer like me, or a young boomer like me, and lives in the woods with Jen, his wife. His wife has Parkinson's. He's got a full life and no money. He doesn't have a lot of money. But these guys are the ones that I give the credit to for spinning up this school board controversy. Not just them. There's some establishment institutional figures who have thrown together organizations like Heidi Sampson, and there's probably a few others. But if there's money or institutional power involved in Maine, I don't trust it. I'm going to start asking really hard questions, because I don't trust it. I tend to trust the Anon, believe it or not, the Anons whose narrative is close to the truth, before I'm going to trust these public figures who are fundraising on these issues. Not going to trust them. Not going to go out of my way to hurt them, but not going to trust them. And I am going to my instinct is to trust the guys like Tim and Nick and Richard. So Nick won a huge battle single-handedly just this week. There was a gal on the city council who was spinning up one of these drug dens that they call brand as a homeless shelter, which takes our taxpayer dollars and then creates 24/7 drug operations. And Nick went to the meeting in real life and also on Facebook and exposed it and exposed the leader. And the leader yesterday or the day before went on Facebook and announced her retirement from politics. So he shut down the homeless shelter, or the possibility of this drug den, and he got her head on a platter, politically speaking. And he's doing all this by making effective use of Facebook primarily, and real life activism. Going out in the strategically at the right events and stirring up the dust, the political dust. And he's gaining tremendous traction and attention nationally with podcasters who have big followings. Richard is doing the same thing. So if you haven't found those guys, you need to check them out. At Unquirer on X is Richard, and Main X Community on Facebook, that's him. And then Blanchard is Corn Pop or something. If you search around on Facebook, you'll find him. And then Bodnar is at Trueslinger X, and his Trueslinger X. So someone's asking here, it's your mission to bring in the Groypers to this. I thought there was no, unlike you in Maine. Groypers base, this guy is Wayne Howe. Love that title. Live stream reacting to Fonte's clips. Yeah, I will start doing that. It's your mission to bring in the Groypers to this. Okay, I'd love to do it. I'd love nothing more in 2026 than to do everything in my power to get Maine Groypers pounding away. It'll be a delight. But anyway, I'm nobody really with respect to helping to bring about a unified, effective strategy for the Groypers in Maine. I would put Richard at Unquirer on X, Richard, and he'd love to meet in real life. He's a great guy, and he's a little younger than me, and he's more baked into your DNA. The young male gamer culture. He's really and he's very well informed on both internet technology and Maine politics. But anyway, there's a lot of help. There's a lot of folks who I could bring to the table here with Groypers because of my history in Maine politics, and I would be super, super eager to do that. So generally don't even go on YouTube. I can't type Wang Chung. I'll put you on TikTok. Awesome. Yeah, to put me anywhere. I don't know, nothing's copywritten, whatever. It's just always been me doing this, and I'm not trying to monetize. I don't do number go up. I'm sort of like a Bitcoin maxi guy when it comes to number go up ideology. I don't care because it's another tool that's being used by the Jews to trap people's brains, trap their consciousness, trap their identity. And so I never thought that way when I was a political leader for 20 years, but I was forced to think about it for pragmatic reasons to win elections. But anyway, my number go up is not a thing for me. So to pay the bills is a thing for me, and win for what's good, true, and beautiful, according to America's constitutional principles, First Amendment, Second Amendment. That's what matters to me, that America not just wins, but thrives based on constitutional principles. I think that's our best hope for the future, is to resurrect the fundamental and important principles that are there, and keep moving, keep building a limited constitutional republic, and while we shed the empire, while we get rid of the idea of being a hegemon and an empire. When do you plan on doing a Groyper stream? Why don't you want to monetize? I'm willing to monetize. I'm a little allergic to monetization on the big platforms because of getting thrown off. And that's FUD. I admit it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I'm willing. I guess what might make sense if I monetize on YouTube is to do it on a new YouTube, channel, and so that my historic Gmail account doesn't get nuked. Separate myself from that because I'm kind of sentimentally attached. I hate to say it, but to my original Gmail account. I know I hate Google at the same time, but it goes with being an old guy, I guess. What's a Groyper stream? When do you plan on doing a Groyper stream? I wonder what's meant by that. Tim, can't take the blind challenge. I don't understand why you're afraid. I don't. Yeah, that's a good. Let me think about that. I don't understand why you are afraid. Let me think about that. When do you plan on doing a Groyper stream? So I think what you mean by that is maybe something at a different time. So what would you suggest would be a good time for Maine Groypers for me to live stream? Tim, what would you suggest would be a good time? Wrong, is Wang half the same as Wang Chung? So do you plan on doing Groyper stream? So Tim must be shooting some monster or something. When do you plan on doing a Groyper stream? No response. I got to learn the timing of the whole Groyper chat world. So you can do mornings if needed. I'm laughing. It's a joke. Okay. You can do mornings if needed. When do you plan on joining the Groyper stream? Well, this has been awesome. I'm going to be back at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, right here. I'll be on YouTube. I'll be on X. I'll be at michaelheath.tv at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'd love to continue the conversation about what would be the best time for me to live stream to Groypers in Maine. Would love to get feedback on that. You can email me. The email's been run across the bottom the whole show. I'll see those, or you can come in on YouTube tomorrow on the stream and chat. And I'd love to hear your ideas because I can live stream at a different time. So you can play Fuentes night streams and react and talk about it. So the Groyper streams. Okay. Let me ponder that. The playing and commenting on Nick while he's streaming. Good, open on TikTok. Okay. Awesome. Well, I am honored to meet you, gentlemen, you young men, and look forward to connecting on the next one, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and be thinking about what would be the best time. Have a nice morning, Mike. Thank you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, James. I also close with the Our Father, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I need something to drink. I'll be back at 6 a.m. in the morning. In the meantime, subscribe at michaelheath.org. You can donate there. And what else? 6 a.m. I'll be back in the morning. God bless you all.